Welcome to the YouTube channel of Legally Trust. This video is one of the series of educational videos that will be available on this channel under the category General Awareness.
Hello friends, in today's video we shall discuss what are the advantages and disadvantages of rights issue or various types of follow-on equity offerings. Rights issue. In a rights issue, shares are offered to existing shareholders in proportion to their current shareholding. The principal advantages of a rights issue is that the control of the company continues in the hands of existing shareholders. Many financially troubled companies use rights issue to pay debt, particularly when they are unable to borrow money. The disadvantages is that there is a limit to how much can be raised through this method, as the investing capacity of the existing shareholders can be limited. Public offer. The advantages of a public offer are that it increases public awareness about the company and provides easy access to capital and liquidity for a company to expand and diversify its business. The disadvantages are that the process is costly and time consuming and there are many regulatory requirements. Private placement. The advantages of a private placement are that the processing of raising funds through private placement is fairly simple and the cost is minimal. The disadvantages is that the pool of investors is relatively smaller and the company may have to issue securities at a discount to compensate investors for their greater risk and longer term returns. What are the main steps for a company applying for a primary listing of its shares? Procedure for a primary listing. A company applying for a primary listing of its equity shares on the main board of the stock exchanges must undertake an IPO. The SEBI Issue of Capital and Disclosure Requirements Regulation 2018, ICDR Regulations and Companies Act and the rules and regulations made under it, among other things, govern and prescribe the issue procedure and the disclosure requirements. An issuer proposing to undertake an IPO must also comply with the other statutory and regulatory requirements as specified in the Securities Contract Regulation Act and the rules made under it, and any applicable industry-specific regulations. The preliminary and most important step is the appointment of the merchant bankers. Merchant bankers act as book crew for the IPO and are responsible for exercising due diligence with respect to owners' statutory and regulatory compliance. These guide the issuer through the entire IPO process, including, among other things, the appointment of other intermediaries and legal counsel, interfacing with the regulatory authorities, marketing of the issue, advising on pricing and valuation, the allotment of securities under the IPO. The merchant bankers and the legal counsel advise and assist the issuer with the documentation process, which is one of the most critical elements of the IPO. The shares issued or offered in an IPO can be priced through a book building process or have a fixed price. However, if the issuer fails to meet certain eligibility criteria specified in Regulation 6(1) of the ICDR regulations, it must undertake an IPO by way of a book building process. The book building process is a mechanism where during the period for which the issue is open, bids are collected from investors at various prices within a specified price band and the pricing is determined at the closure of the issue. In a fixed price issue, the price of the securities is determined upfront by the issuer in consultation with the merchant bankers. In recent times, book-build IPOs have become the norm due to numerous advantages that the process offers, including, but not limited to, increased flexibility in pricing. As a part of the IPO process, a draft of a document containing certain prescribed disclosures must be prepared and filed with SEBI and submitted to the stock exchanges. In a book-built issue, the draft offer document is called the draft red herring prospectus. The DRHP must be filed with SEBI at least 30 days before filing the offer document, that is the red herring prospectus, with the relevant register of companies. It is also uploaded onto the websites of the issuer, SEBI and the stock exchanges and is made available for public comments. An issuer can only proceed with the IPO after it has received SEBI's observations on the DRHP and in principle approvals from the stock exchanges where it is planned to list its securities. While reviewing the DRHP, SEBI usually seeks certain classifications and confirmations, and on receipt of satisfactory responses and undertaking from the issuer and the merchant bankers, issues its observations. SEBI typically issues its observation in two sets, interim observation and final observation. Parallel to this clarification or observation process, the subject to the issuer and the merchant bankers addressing all concern the stock exchanges issue in principle approvals. The issuer has a period of 12 months from the date of issuance of SEBI's final observation within which it must open its IPO. Subsequently, the merchant bankers arrange for management of the issuer to embark on roadshow to meet institutional investors and analysts. This is the marketing phase of the IPO and typically involves visit to major investor centers often across countries. There are rounds of question and answer sessions that enable prospective investors to understand the business of the issuer and undertake an independent evaluation. The ICDR regulations and the SEBI Prohibition of Insider Trading Regulations 2015 outline the key restrictions and are applicable to the issuer, the management of the issuer, the merchant bankers and other intermediaries involved during the marketing phase of the IPO. The actual launch or opening of the issue is subject to the success of the marketing initiatives, suitable market conditions and investor interest. In a book-built issue, the issue itself is undertaken by a way of RHP, which is essentially an updated version of the DRHP that includes any additional disclosures or confirmation as directed by the SEBI and the stock exchanges. The RHP must be filed with the relevant registrar of companies, the stock exchanges and SEBI before opening of an issue. The issuer must make a pre-issue advertisement after registering the RHP with the registrar of companies, which must contain details of the price band, timelines and certain other prescribed matters. The anchor investor book opens one day before the issue opening date. Anchor investors are qualified institutional buyers that make applications to subscribe to large chunks of the issue, application value of at least 100 million. They are allocated shares on a discretionary basis on the day of bidding itself. If the price fixed as a result of book building is higher than the price at which the allocation was made to anchor investors, they are required to bring in the additional amount. However, if the price fixed as a result of book building is lower than the price at which the allocation was made to anchor investors, the excess amount is not refunded to them. As a result, the anchor investors assume the risk of paying more than the issue price for the opportunity of subscribing to a sizable portion of the issuer's share capital. Once launched, the issue itself must be kept open for a period of at least 3 working days. However, it cannot be kept open for more than 10 working days, including the days for which the issue is kept open in the case of a revision in the price band. The minimum subscription that is required to be received is not less than 90% of the offer through the offer document, excluding the offer for sale component of the issue, if any. In the case of a failure to achieve the minimum subscription, the issuer is liable to immediately refund the application monies received or risk paying interest with respect to any delay in issuing the refund. After the end of the offer period and subject to successful closure of the issue, an issuer that has undertaken the IPO by way of book building process must also file a prospectus with the registrar of companies, which contains details of the pricing, quantum, and other issue related details of the securities. Under the Companies Act, equity shares under an IPO can be allotted only in dematerialized form. While the pre-issue equity shareholding is locked in for a period of 1 to 3 years post-allotment under the IPO, the equity shares allotted to any anchor investors as a part of the anchor investor portion of the IPO are locked in for a period of 30 days from the date of allotment under the IPO. The issuer makes a listing application to the stock exchanges after a confirmation from the depository in relation to the credit of the dematerialized equity shares. Trading in the equity shares of the issuer begins only after the stock exchanges issue a trading notice in relation to those shares. Through various circulars issued between November 2018 and June 2019, the SEBI has streamlined the issue process by introducing a unified payments interface mechanism for bids by retail individual bidders. This is a payment mechanism designed to reduce the time from public issue closure to listing from 6 working days to up to 3 working days. For application by retail institutional investors, this mechanism is in addition to that where funds are blocked in an account maintained with self-certified syndicate banks under the application supported by blocked amount mechanism. UPI is being implemented in 3 phases. Presently, we are in phase 2, which came into effect on 1st July 2019 and will continue for a period of 3 months or until the floating of 5 main broad public issues, whichever is later. In this phase, submission of the bid cum application form by a RII through designated intermediaries other than SCSBs to SCSBs for blocking of funds will be discontinued and will be replaced by the UPI mechanism. However, the time duration from public issue closure to listing will continue to be 6 working days during this phase. Subsequently, under UPI phase 3, the time duration from public issue closure to listing will be reduced to be 3 working days. Hope this video is informative. Thank you for watching.
Hope the information contained in this video was useful to you. We look forward to each one of your support and cooperation in making this initiative a success. For more details about the trust, do visit us at www.legalaidtrust.in. Kindly subscribe this channel and click on the bell icon to get the latest updates about various law-related educational videos. Thank you for watching us and have a good day.